Never touch the television in prison if these channels are on. That's what I'm going to teach you today in this video. You'd be surprised by the end of this video when you find out what things that are on television that another man is willing to possibly unalive you for if you mess with that television while he's in the middle of watching these particular shows. That's right. I put down on an index card 5 of the television shows that you should never, ever change the channel on if they are on the television when you walk into a jail or a prison, anywhere, anytime. Yeah, let's get into it. I want to make a disclaimer before we get too far into this video because there tends to be a lot of confusion on the topics that I talk about, and I'm going to clarify it for you right now. A lot of times people say rule number 1, don't go to prison. The rules that I'm giving you today on this channel can just very well help save your life in the free world, right? And you're thinking to yourself, what's this fool talking about? And how do I know what he's saying is going to help me in society when I ain't never been to prison and I don't plan on going to prison? Well, the people who are in prison, who are institutionalized and who are crazy, you very well may live in a state where they set these people free on a mass exodus. That's right, because now they think that the people in prison, even though that some of them got victims in some heinous ways, they think they should release them into society, into your community. So I'm trying to help you. Before they wind up working at your company, you might be a mechanic and they might get a job at the dealership and they're going to be watching TV on one of these shows, and you're going to think you come in there during the lunch break and try to change the television, and you're going to remember, hey, on the Pen and the Shank, Greg gave me the information I needed. I know not to touch that television because Ty Shop Black now works at this car dealership that I work at because the owner of the company, signed an agreement that he would give ex-felons a chance, and he got a kickback for it from the mayor of the city. That's how this stuff works. See what I mean? I'm trying to give you game. I'm trying to spit game to you because a lot of times people are like, oh, yeah, well, I'm never going to go to prison. You ain't got to go to prison. They releasing these dudes every single day into society. And you get 3 or 4 of them working at the same company, you don't know what they can do. But the rules are quite simple. Don't touch the television. If you're working at a company and you got an ex-convict working for you and you're not certain on how his mind works, he very well may be a good dude who wouldn't do anything behind the television. But you don't know because, like I said, nowadays they're releasing people who should not be released into society, and they're likely in your society, and they may have a job where you have a job at. But I'm going to teach you how to get on the good side of them when they're watching the television. And I'm going to tell you the top 5 things, the top 5 channels that they're watching that you should never, ever change the channel if they're watching these channels. Let's get into it. Number 1, the news. That's right, the local news. Any prison or jail you go to, the convicts are going to watch the local news whenever the local news comes on. That means 3 times a day. In the morning for a half hour, midday for a half hour, and at night for a half hour. That's an hour and a half a day that you know that you should not touch that television, or you should not interfere with what's on that television. That's the local news. A lot of guys, they may not be interested in the world news, but they interested in the local news. And wherever the local news is, wherever you're from, like if you're from Chicago, you got a local news station. I'm from New Orleans. There's a local news station. If that local news station or whatever one that the tier rep or the tier, orderly or the people on the dorm deem is the most relevant. So they're going to pick that channel. They'll decide the channel. Whatever it is, you just got to watch it. They want to know what's going on in the city that they live in. They want to know what's going on around them specifically. They're not interested in what's going on in England. They're not interested in what's going on in the Middle East. They couldn't care less what's going on in Alaska. Them dudes want to know what's going on in New Orleans, right next to their projects. And they don't want you messing with that TV, trying to tell them, hey, man, look, we're just going to go ahead and see what's on the news, man. I'm kind of interested in what the Queen and King of England are talking about. Them dudes don't care about the Queen and King of England unless they live in England. Them dudes from New Orleans, they don't care about that. Them dudes from Texas don't care about that. They care about what's happening in their own hood. So you're going to go in there and try to touch the news channel talking about, oh, well, I would just like to put on a better news channel so we can get a wider range of things so we can broaden our horizon. Them dudes don't want to broaden no horizon. They ain't broadened their horizon to that point in their life, And they don't need you telling them to broaden their horizon, because all you're going to do is upset them and they're going to jump you. That's right. You're going to get crowded. Blah, 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 blah. And you're going to be sitting there, eyes swollen, leaking from your nose, leaking from your mouth, kind of bent up sideways like you spazzed out. And the guard's going to come look at you and they're going to be like, uh-huh. Came in here and messed with them dudes' television, huh? And you can be like, yeah. And they'll be like, let me get you on out of here. Get you to the nurse's station. Make sure you're all right. You gonna be all right? No. I said, I'm gonna get you some aspirin. Get you some Tylenol. It's gonna heal you all up, huh? And the dude's gonna be looking at you like you crazy, uh-huh. Bet you don't come back in here and touch that local news station. The only thing them dudes care about is who murked who. That's right, because the local news is keeping them updated on what's going on in the streets. That's their 411. Who's knocking who off? Who jacking who? Who else is crashing out like a crash test dummy to come back in jail with them? I know it's foolish. And I know you're probably looking at this thinking to myself, well, it just sounds so dumb. It is dumb. I was stuck in the cycle for 10 years. I had to deal with it. It is dumb. It's stupid. It's foolish. But that's the rules of the prison. You don't mess with the local news station. They don't want you touching that channel. Let them watch their local news and find out what's going on in local projects, in local hoods. That's all that matters, and you're going to be okay. Just sit back, sip your coffee, and they ain't going to worry about you. You don't worry about the TV, they ain't going to worry about you, as long as that news is on. Number 2, soap operas. Man, this one will really get you banged up. Soap operas. Now we're going from jail to prison, because it starts off in jail. But man, these soap operas, they've been doing time with these dudes since these dudes caught their sentences in the 1970s. That's right. Soap operas. You ain't going to go in there touching no Bold and Beautiful. And you especially, I'm going to add an extra especially, you ain't touching no Young and the Restless. These dudes Victor Newman been doing time with these dudes since they caught their case in the 1970s on an armed robbery on 2 second-degree charges, first-degree murder charges. Victor Newman been in and out of jail. Victor Newman went to prison, went back home, went to prison, went back home, and he's still doing time with these dudes. And you think, darn, these dudes working in the field labor, they come back for lunch. In the prisons that I've been to in the South, in Louisiana, they have the lunchtime set to where dudes come in from the field for lunch. Because you come in from the field, feed up, you're going to go to chow, and when you get back from chow or during chow, the Young and the Restless is on. A lot of dudes are watching the Young and the Restless. See, right after that local news, that's when right after the Young and the Restless, then the local news comes on. But when that Young and the Restless is on, you think you're going to mess with that TV? Man, these dudes, that's all they got. That's all they know. They've been in prison for 20 and 30 years. They done forgot everything about society. The only thing they know about society, they think General City is society. Whatever happens in General City, that's what happens in real life to these dudes. They know more about General City than they do about the history of the projects that they lived in. That's how serious they are about General City and the Young and the Restless. Victor Newman, Jack Abbott, these dudes are like they rounds. And you think you gonna mess with the television when the Young and the Restless is on? No, indeed not. Man, Phyllis and Neil, they hold a spot dear to these dudes' heart. And they're not going to let you mess with that. Larry Waltman. Listen, I know these names because I watched it. I didn't have no interest in no Young and the Restless. But I spent enough time in prison to know and get to learn because that was on TV. And even if I didn't want to watch it, I wasn't changing that television. Neither was you or nobody. Larry Waltman, he was like the convict on the Young and the Restless back in the days. He came back, had that combed hair back. He was messing with Jill. That's right. He was a fool, man. You had to be a gangster to mess with Jill. So he was messing with Jill. And man, them dudes in there watching that TV said, man, Larry Waltman, a fool, man. And then Larry Waltman was on a Master P prison movie. And so Larry Waltman had street cred. And you think you was going to change the television when Larry Waltman was on there after he was in a movie with Master P? Oh, man, come on, man. You crazy. Don't mess with no television. These dudes get an hour and a half break. 2-hour break in between field work. Because once child feed up is done, back in the field for the second half of the day. They need to get that Young and the Restless in their life. Don't mess with that television when the Young and the Restless is on. Number 3, rap, BET. The local jails and the smaller prisons in Louisiana, satellite camps, parish jails that house state inmates, they all gonna be on BET. If they rapping, it's on. That's it. You might not like rap. Put your headphones on and listen to whatever else you want to listen to and just drown it out. Or go on yard call if you can. But in these parish jails, you can't get out. That's why a lot of dudes in the parish jails, even though the parish jails were, close to the people's houses, dudes wanted to go to the penitentiary. Man, dudes are trying to go to Angola. They ain't trying to not go to Angola. They want to go to Angola. It's bigger. There's more to do. They don't want to be stuck in these parish jails. These parish jails are chaotic. The prisons have structure. BET rap, these dudes start getting buck about watching rap videos, and these dudes on the rap videos are cutting up, murking each other, slapping a B, and you in there looking weak in the corner. Well, they got to take you as you the B. So they're going to come slap you up, you know what I mean? Take you under the bunk. You know what they're going to do? What happens when a punk goes under a bunk? That's what happens. I got enough videos about it. So if they put you underneath that bunk, man, you got to make sure look, while BET is on, you could be sharpening your iron. You keep yourself ready in case it pop off. Instead of worrying about the television. Look, you can have your opinion, but ain't no reason for you to get jumped and beat up because you are voicing your opinion about how much BET sucks and you don't like it. You just gotta get used to it. Because here's the reality. You might feel that way. You might have 2 or 3 other dudes in the dorm with you who feel that way. But you're going to be the minority. Especially if you're white, you're going to be the minority. You might be in a dorm, for every 1 white, they got 20 blacks. You're not going to mess with it, man. They're going to respect whites who stand on their own 2 feet. That's how it is in the South. But if you're weak and you think you're going to mess with that channel because you don't like BET, it's just going to go bad for you. You ain't going to mess with that television when the raps is on. That's the end of the story, man. You might as well get used to it. That's how I know some rap songs from back in the day when I quit listening to the stuff. Because I got to a point to where I didn't like it no more neither. I used to like it when I was a teenager. I used to bump it. And I got a story for another day. How a city boy turns country in prison, working in the fields. Man, working around cows, baling hay, tilling the ground, digging up the potatoes. You turn to a country boy, even though you're a city boy up in there. That's a story for another day. We're going to talk about country music, how it shifted my life and shifted a lot of city inmates when they go to prison. The next thing that you ain't going to touch that television behind is sports, right? This Sunday is the Super Bowl. Every single television in the prisons in the jails are going to be on the Super Bowl. Every one of them. Is when the Super Bowl's playing, that's what's going to be on the TV. Not just are the inmates going to be watching it, but the guards have to work their shift. And so the guards are going to be in the TV room watching it with the inmates. Everybody got money on the games. People in prison gamble. And when there's money involved, when there's soups and cigarettes involved, you don't get involved. You stay back. You ain't got to like football. Well, go read a book and put your headphones on your rack. Go do some artwork. Go play Scrabble. Whatever it is you want to do. Go to a church call out. Go to a call out. Toastmasters call out. But you ain't going to mess with that channel when them sports are on. It don't matter what sports it is. If they watching it, they watching it. Listen, them dudes will watch Olympic volleyball as long as they got girls wearing short shorts. They watching that. You ain't going to change that channel. They don't even care about volleyball. They learn the rules of volleyball because they like watching the pretty women who play at the universities that play volleyball. That's it. Serena Williams, Venus Williams, man, whenever them girls were playing, them dudes had that on the television. They don't care about no tennis, but when them 2 girls played, that's what they were watching on the prison channel, man. I'm telling you. You ain't going to change the television if the sports are on because there's too much involved in it because there's a lot of gambling that goes on with the sports. And even the guards are in on the gambling. So it's best that you just get it in your mind that when sports are on, you ain't going to mess with nothing. And the final thing that I want to talk about that you ain't going to touch that TV on is anything with pretty women. That's right. If the TV show Baywatch, them dudes will watch reruns of Baywatch all day long. They don't care that these women from Baywatch are now in their 70s and look bad and rough. Like the world and chew them and spit them out, some of them. They gonna watch Baywatch and that's it. You know what I mean? Them dudes are watching Baywatch. They watching the Jerry Springer show. It had all the check marks of what prisoners love. Fist fights and ghetto slutty prostitutes who were full of drama. That's what they liked. So you wasn't going to mess. I never could like Jerry Springer. But I knew better than go in that TV room and try to change the channel when Jerry Springer was on, because that's what them dudes wanted to watch. I just didn't go in the TV room for no Jerry Springer because I can't stand that show. But them dudes, they would be in there fist fighting behind Jerry Springer and then go find a punk and get underneath the bunk with. This is the reality of prison, man. So when there's a television show on with a pretty girl, you ain't going to touch it. They watch some of the news channels and think that they're going to marry the woman who's a news anchor. They get to know her over 15 years. They get to know her real well. They study everything she says on every one of those for an hour and a half a day, every news cycle she comes on. Every word, they hang on it. They remember. Some of these dudes are writing these women letters. They will find the addresses and write these women letters. And believe it or not, it's crazy, but every blue moon, one of these women write them back. Some of these dudes are so sick with it, they get out of prison and they go track down these women and wind up back in prison for stalking. And they're like, man, I knew she wanted to marry me, man. She wasn't feeling me when I met her in real life. Man, would you tell her, bro? I said, man, I watched you for 15 years in prison. I felt like every time when I was looking in your eyes and you said, hey, today, you was talking to me today. And I was like, oh, she talking to me, man. That's meant for me. She know about me. These dudes are crazy. They sick with it. They got mental disorders. They need professional help. That's how prison is. But I'm giving you the real on what not to touch those televisions behind. Now, you got your coworker or your boss. He done hired 2 ex-convicts. And they in the TV room. And they watching The Young and the Restless. But you want to put on the world news. What should you do? And they both standing there looking at the TV like this. And that's how they watch that TV. Love to suck their lips. That's a common thing in prison. If you ain't used to that, you're going to get tired of hearing. A lot of dudes got them gold teeth too. Steady tapping their mouth like that with them gold showing. You ain't going to tell them nothing. You're going to let them finish watching Victor Newman. And then watch the local news. And then you're going to hope that you can put on Walker, Texas Ranger. Because otherwise, it ain't coming on. And that's the way it is. Welcome to the Pen and the Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, where we do things different in this genre of prison and crime related content. Give me a like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, hype this video up. Let's get this thing blown up and become a part of the community. Share this video. Man, let's get it. Man, don't touch that television, man. They're going to jig you up.